Welcome everybody, Mr. Steve back, and I've got a tutorial for you based on the Is Viewport node. It's a very powerful node. I actually, like in this instance here, I'm actually controlling the Is Viewport, or rather the Is Viewport is controlling the instances and how many of them are being shown via a true or false, and I got it tied into the distribute points on faces. So let's just start completely new. And I'll just grab a completely new setup here. I'm gonna throw in a plane, and let's go ahead and keep the plane. I'm gonna subdivide the mesh a couple of times, and I want to instance on points, and of course somewhere over here maybe I'm gonna drop in UV sphere, scale it down a touch, apply the scale, and I would like to put in a torus. And I'll just skinny that down as well. These can go into their own folder, so I'll just create a custom folder. I'm gonna click back on the plane, lock my workspace so it doesn't keep flapping off, and I'm gonna lock the editor here for the modifier, and I want to go ahead and bring back that plane so we can see it. So we can do a join geo. Never wants to work for me for some reason, but that's no big deal. And what we can do, let's drop in the Is Viewport node. Just go straight to it. Drop in a switch node. And what we want to do is switch the geometry on and off. And I'm going to bring in the collection and plug that into the instances. Let's reset everything so it all ends up here. Actually, that looks kind of cool, but make sure to click pick instance so that it's just going to instance one of the objects in the collection based on that randomness. And so if you click that, you'll just get one of them instead of all of them. And they do overlap the edge because they are grabbing the points outside. No big deal. So now what I want is this to actually be an instance setup with a distribute points on faces. So we'll get a distribute and tag that in. Now we can tag the Is Viewport into the switch. And I will switch this from geometry, we don't need to plug it in anywhere like that, to float. And we're going to control the density of the distribute points on faces with the Is Viewport node. So this makes it a little more interesting. Our false value, so when this is false, we want it to show 100% of the instances. And so the true output will be what we can use to increase where, how many instances show up. Obviously, nobody wants to see all that overlap, so let's go to +1 disk. Let's set a minimum of 0.05. Nope. Okay, so maybe 0.5. Yeah, that seems nice. So 0.5 will be nice, and if you want to increase the amount of verts inside of here, you can. And then more will show up as you bring this distance minimum up and down, but something like 0.5 seems good. So now over here we're actually going to be controlling once I replug that back in, there we go. So now we're actually going to be controlling this. It's a little bit more sensitive with the +1, but you can still get the general idea. These are going to show them in the viewport or not. Now for everything else that's in here, for these instances, let's just say they were all high poly mesh. We can grab another switch, and we're going to output the Boolean to a Boolean math node. We can set this one to AND. We use the AND logic here. And then we can grab another Is Viewport. And now this one's going to tell it the geometry to just be in the viewport. So I think that's pretty cool. And we can output this boolean right here. We can rename this to Is Viewport. I like that. And you'll now have a boolean setup, so you can turn these on and off. Now this is only set to false, so what we want to do is grab these instances and we want to say, hey, let's turn them into a convex hull because their geometry is just way too big. And now if I do this, then you're going to get the instances turning into a convex hull. Now these cylindrical objects will not show like that, so I'm just going to actually throw in another switch here, and I can grab a bounding box, get the same instance geometry, tag that in, and now everything is going to be bounding box if we want. So what we could actually do is now say this is convex, and we'll just call this one BB for bounding box. Keep it short so you can see it all. And if this one is engaged, then you'll have the proxies. So let's look at this real quick. Switches can get confusing very quickly. So this one is perfectly fine being Is Viewport, actually. And so that way you'll know. And if you want to keep it short, you can just call it proxy. So however you want to do that. And then this boolean won't work unless this one's engaged. And then there, you'll see they'll all be those type of instances. And so now you've got the control factor here. All right, very good. So I'm going to switch over to rendered view. And let's make sure I'm actually on cycles. Looks good. The benefit of having the Is Viewport over here is not specifically designed just to show you whether it is or isn't in the viewport, but it is also designed to show you something that you will see in the viewport, but you will not see in the render because you're using Is Viewport. It's saying, hey, this and being in the viewport, this boolean is true, then show one of these two items, and you'll get an Is Viewport display of convex hull and bounding box, but you won't actually get it in the render. So if we come over here and we drop a camera in the scene and line it up, and let's see, I want to throw a sky texture in there and make sure the scene light and scene world's on. I'm going to turn down exposure just a touch, go back to world, play around with the elevation. So like 7 always gives it a nice look, and you can change a couple things, air, the ozone here, but the rotation, definitely want to change that so it looks kind of nice just for the fun of it. And I'll go ahead and render this, and you can see this is definitely the bounding box. So if I come back over here and relock this, that's without, that's with it. That's the convex hull, which you can't really see. On more complex mesh, the convex hull will drop something from like 20,000 or, you know, millions down to just a few thousand. I actually just made an add-on to do all that too. And it's funny, do I have it? I don't have it installed. I'll show you guys in the next tutorial. Don't miss that one. I got a really cool add-on that's designed to do a lot of this heavy lifting for you. But I always like to put a tutorial out as well so you can figure out some of the stuff and do it on your own. So we'll just go ahead and render, and you'll see, voila, there we go. Nothing but the objects we wanted are actually showing, but we have bounding box visible in render. And so if you were to disable all of that and just run it without the switch, or you were to just run it through, rather, if I just took the bounding box and just plugged it in instead and went ahead and rendered, then obviously I get the bounding box. But if you do it the other way, and you tag all this wonderful stuff in like this and click render, it'll allow me. I think I got too many renders going to cancel one of these. And then you just get this, even though it's showing in the viewport, which is fantastic. And while I'm at it, I'll show you the add-on. I just have to install it. So right about here we go. I call this the OCP, the one-click proxy. Pretty neat. So once you've got the one-click proxy, so we don't have to do that. Let's do this. And in fact, I'll just I will save this file and I'll put it on the Gumroad so you guys can get it if you want. Let's just call it the proxy for Gumroad. Spelling is atrocious, no big deal. And shake all this loose, get rid of that camera. Try not to clear my throat so much on the actual microphone here. So here we go. Here's OCP. Nothing will show up by design, so there are no errors. The more complex the mesh, the better this works. So if you throw in your Suzanne with a subsurf, don't crash. And I'll just apply that, and we can shade it smooth or shade it auto smooth. Doesn't really matter. I'm just going to shade it smooth. Click OCP, and you're going to get an instant convex hull setup. You've got a modifier here that's set up. You've got a list. I put a nice, pretty node group in here so you can kind of see what's going on. It's not exactly the same thing that I did, but it's pretty close. And you've got some wireframe options as well. So now once this is set up, you can turn it off. And the icon will switch and the name will switch. So it's very user-friendly UI, extremely easy to use. So it's either on or off, and you can see that right here. And then you can switch it from the convex hull. And I know the icon is really small. The next version of the Serpent's add-on creator, they're actually going to make it so I can increase the size of these icons a little bit. But when you do that, like outside of it, it kind of gets crashy. So we're trying to do that. And if you click this, you'll get bounding box, and then it will be represented by a little default cube, a little blue default cube. Now, if you click solid, it's showing you right now, hey, this is a solid proxy. You can then click it and it will be a wireframe, and you've got controls right here if you want to change that around. You've got a wireframe material if you want to switch it up, and so you can be able to like see what's actually going on. It actually show it. Maybe it's too small. Maybe that's not a real material. There we go. Okay, so naming conventions, blah, 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 no big deal. There we go. So that's it. That's the add-on. It's really not that difficult. It's super easy to use. That is the entire thing. It's going to loop through every object in your scene that has this modifier. If you have one that doesn't have it, then you're not going to show anything here and not clutter up the scene. Now, if you do have one, you want to just add that on, turn him into a bounding box, not that one. You can just grab the object, the active object. It'll grab it for you right here. And then you can switch it around, do whatever you want with it. And you can have, like I said, any number of these in here. And you don't have to have the modifier on all of them, obviously. So you'll be able to iterate through those in a nice, clean manner. And I might put some other name, you know, like show the name. If we go to the object menu, viewport, display, and name. I don't know, leave something in the comments, guys, if you want to see the name showing up on these. I don't think it's that important because you do have the name here, Suzanne 001. And only the ones with the modifier are actually going to show up. I'm going to have that on the Blender Market soon. I will be putting that, I hate that navigate, I will be putting this add-on on Gumroad soon as well, probably tonight. Got a little bit more work I want to do to it, but check the link. So whenever this is actually posted, then that's going to be available. You'll be able to click the link and grab that add-on, and keep it super simple because that's the way I like things. A very tiny UI. Cavity will be on. You can have in front for these. So if something's back there, you can turn on the, well, maybe. Couple bugs to work out. Either way though, it works smashingly well, and I think you'll really enjoy using it, and everything just super easy. Thanks for watching, guys. Smash that subscribe, smash that like. I'll see you guys in the next tutorial.